Hello sailors, you're watching the Dodgy Kebab, and this video is a
Oh my god, Dodgy, I thought you were dead. I haven't seen you in ages.
No, I've just been really busy with other stuff. I've got to pay the bills, you know. You could support my Patreon. That would really help speed things up.
Fuck me, Dodgy, it's been so long. I thought the release of this video was going to be beaten by the release of Warcraft.
Indeed. Well, this video is a review of the World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King 3.3.5 Warmane server, Lordaeron. I've had a lot of requests to review this server, and although I could have cashed in on the hype by making this video when the server launched a few months back, I thought I'd wait until Northrend was actually open before I began here. So Lordaeron is a ×1 rate server for everything, and although I just said Northrend was open, the server is progressively releasing content. So at the time of this video going up, things like Nax are open, but Trial of the Crusader and Icecrown Citadel are not. But let's start at the beginning at Nausea Valley. So here we go again. Even though this is a few months after release, the starting area is still pretty busy. Busy enough to turn the Grape Collection quest into a race against other players as you sprint around trying to catch the spawns before someone else does. Talking about players, when I started recording this video, logging into Lordaeron looked like this. You could jump the queue by buying an item from the pay-to-win web store, even though the website says that you can't jump the queue. But none of this matters now, because since I've recorded all this, the problem of queuing is all gone. I created a brand new alt account about a month later, and I didn't have to queue at all. So, moving on. Not long after starting Warmane, the staff were in contact with me saying they would help me get a test character and even find raid guilds to let me ride along with. But more on that later. Instead, for now, let's talk about PvP. No, seriously, at level 10, when you can actually start queuing for PvP, I got into random battlegrounds super quick. In fact, it was this quick. So, the queues are quick and the battles seem blizz-like. Plus, if you're into this twinking lark, then there's even guilds like Bad to the Bone and Twink Legion for this sort of thing. That's enough PvP chatter for now. Back in the land of levelling and things are going fine. No problems in the Elwyn Forest or in Dwarfland. In fact, even the gnome scripted training is working perfect. Other things working well are the pathfinding. As you can see, mobs will react to obstacles in the correct fashion. Trade skills. As you'd expect, there's no problems here. Mobs aggroing other mobs. This seems to be much better than in the beta. The lights in Dalaran work.
That's some high quality reviewing, Dodgy. Stay classy.
Global chat. If you're looking for anal, Warmane is the place to go. The Darkmoon Faire is a bit hit and miss though. It has a working fortune teller, but a totally broken cannon. Dalaran toys are a bit iffy too. Paper planes work, as do train sets, but the rocket cars don't do shit. Some things are buggy though. Lots of NPCs won't stay still when you try and speak to them, which is really annoying when trying to unload a ton of grey items. Mages have a bit of a habit of producing more food and water with their spells than they're supposed to. Although I've put that in the video, I bet Warmane fix it and I get a load of angry mage players message me now. My favourite bug though is that weaker spells override more powerful ones. So like, the player here has a +60 version of Arcane Intellect. I can override their spell with my crappy +2 version. Doing this in a battleground will make people furious. I highly recommend it. I thought I'd put the population to the test once again and test the PvP queues at level 14. I checked the site to see how many people were logged in first. Now, how long do you think it would take me to get into a PvP match? Let's find out. Under 2 minutes is not bad actually. Anyway, back to levelling, and I was plodding through Westfall just fine. I did the messenger quest just fine, and I started the traitor quest, and the scripting for him was perfect. This led me on to a Dead Mines run, which I might have boosted myself through. After this I went straight into the stockades, which again I might have helped myself fly through it. With these out the way, it was time to check my first benchmark of the server, the Alliance quest called The Attack. I quickly completed the other pre-quests and moved on to the main mission. It worked in the beta, but since then they've cleaned it up a bit more, and no more does the priestess have an extra unrequired spawn hanging around. Again, I might have used my test account to get me through this faster. The test account and character didn't start off life as a super cool Alliance warrior tank though, no. At first Warmane tried to palm me off with a stinky horde wank rag. But this was a complete disaster. When I began, although I had gear worth 3.8k in gear score, I had no spells and no money to buy any. Worse than that though, I didn't have defensive stance, so a naked gnome swinging his penis around like a sword would have been better tank than me.
Even if you had the spells and stance, a naked level 1 gnome is a better tank than you.
Stop it! So, I went looking for the defensive stance quest, but the trainer didn't offer it. A ticket to a GM fixed the situation by the time I logged in the next day. I now had the Path of Defence quest, so I went to gather the 5 scales needed to finish it. The mob that drops the scale lurks in Thunder Ridge, so I started farming the area. I didn't get a single drop, so I tried again. Again, nothing, so I waited for the respawns again and began all over. Fucking knocked again. I thought I'd give it one last go. Fucking Warmane! Fuck this shit! In a pissy fit, I hurfed back to Dalaran and I noticed I had mail. Opened it and the GM had already sent the items I needed because there was a problem with making my character instant 80 and it bugged some quests for me. Fuck it! The Horde Guild I was going to get a raid ride along with disbanded, so after a bit of chatting, the Warmane staff changed my test character over to the Glorious Alliance. But before I talk about that, I'm going to show you the Death Knight I made. This is Death Jeff, and he's my retarded Death Knight that I made. Just for the record, I dislike Death Knights. I just know that when I'm AoE tanking, a Death Knight in any dungeon group is going to use that fucking Death Grip move just to be a prick. Isn't that right, Russell Brand?
I'm inclined to agree with you, Dodgy Kebab.
Anyway, so I stuck a rune on my sword and started to fight some prisoners, before controlling that big iron fucking shit up. All this worked well, so I continued on to the next quest, which I like to call Grand Theft Horse. You can take many of the different horses around, but I decided I wanted the pony. Even though the game said, stop being an idiot, you're riding a proper horse now, so fucking deal with it. After I did what needed to be done, I thought another quest would appear. It didn't, so I rode around a bit and found a mailbox with a quest icon, although nothing really followed this, so I rode back to Death Breach where I was presented with more quests. The first of which is the one where you go after the miners in the cave, and this seemed to go off without a hitch. Next up was the one on the boat where they used the cannons to blast the crap out the mobs on the beach. I think the respawns were a little bit slow, but other than that, it all worked fine. Next was a part I really wanted to see if Warmane had working. See, it's when the area phases from how you first find it to being set on fire and the Scarlets having to retreat back. The environment and mob placements in this section all change, and to my relief, this was just like it was in retail. I went on to kill Mayor Quimby, as well as complete other quests, which all went off faultless. Although I think it's worth noting the little touches like when you burst into a house and your mere presence instantly fears everyone inside. So yes, the Death Knight section seems to be okay.
Wow, Dodgy, this review has more features than the Swiss Army dildo.
And with that, let's take a short break.
温泉取材は最高だな。ストーングレフル。負けてたまるか。僕だってストロング。ちょっと明日の新幹線何時？明日。ストーングレフル。196ストロングゼロ。
ブルース、豆腐は体にいいぞ。
低カロリー、しかも低価格。低価格？
ダイハツミラーイース。よく覚えた。ブルース。
リッター30キロもね。
Back to my instant level 80 test account, and like I said earlier, I asked for it to be changed from a retarded horde mongrel to a magnificent alliance masterpiece. Did I first head to Northrend? No chance. I went straight to the Outland to get my Burning Crusade fix. First stop, the Dark Portal. At first glance, it looked like Warmane had actually got the mob marching scripting in place. Then it started to fall apart, before turning into a complete mess. Next up, I took myself off to Hellfire Ramparts. The first boss has mobs that walk with him. Here on Warmane, it's not perfect, but much better than most other servers. But the last boss, that was okay, and quite well scripted. Moving up to the Blood Furnace, and again, it all seemed to go quite well. The part where the mobs are let out of their cages one after another was all correct, and I sailed through the instance. Benchmark number 2 is the Exorcism of Colonel Jules, which has a few easy quests leading up to it, but the main pre-quest has a bit of scripting which is normally very wobbly. Here on Lordaeron though, it was the best I've ever seen it, even better than the Burning Crusade server Hellground. I would say that Warmane have got this perfect. Then the main quest was next, and it was also better than any other server. The whole quest is one really big scripted set piece, and Warmane totally nailed it better than everyone else. Before I talk about the endgame content, I'd just like to mention that, like I said earlier, this is a very well populated realm. There are people on the internet who say that Warmane is lying about their population size and make up the numbers on their website. All I know is that you'll find people anywhere you go in the game, and the busy areas like places like Stormwind are very busy. Dalaran is utterly jam-packed with players, and having a world that really feels alive is something that should never be underestimated. A great byproduct of having a large population is having a well-packed auction house, and Lordaeron definitely has one of them. Also, because Warmane don't allow extra money to be injected via its game shop, the prices are just what you'd expect them to be. But also, let's talk about that shop. There is a section of people who do have a problem with this. Now, I understand that. The shop sells up to and including gear which is an item level of 200, although the best gear in the game is about level 218, I think. So it's true that you can't buy the best gear from the shop, and on top of this, the price is very bloody high. A chest piece that is an item level of 200 will cost you 47 Warmane coins, and a package of 57 coins will set you back 50 euros. So I don't think you'll see too many people buying an entire set of items anytime soon. Right, let's get this going. The RDF tool is disabled on Lordaeron, and I like it. Also, it means I get to play Peggle on my way. Anyway, I joined a Halls of Lightning group and actually had to travel to the instance and help summon the party. Once inside, everything seemed fine. The bosses behaved in the way I expected them to, and we continued on to finish the dungeon. Next, I tried out a dungeon daily quest at the Violet Hold. It worked fine starting off, and we were taking out mob waves as well as bosses as they appeared. Then a mistake was made and we died. But when we tried to get back in, the main door of the instance was locked, and no matter what, it would not open. I opened the GM ticket, but after a while the door just seemingly opened itself. Once inside, something had gone very wrong, and the wave of mobs we died on had multiplied dramatically. We tried to take the group down, but failed. When we came back for another try, a new huge group of mobs had appeared, just right in front of us.
Dragons! Oh my god, he just ran in.
This bug crashed the server. The GM I had on Skype put it down to a bug in the update that they did in the morning, and they were going to get to work on a fix. In the meantime, we tried the dungeon again from the start, but we must have broken the server quite bad because the first boss didn't even show up. So yeah, cheers mate. I blew this dungeon lark off to be a wanker. That's right, I took part in a winter grass battle. I'll admit that this battleground is actually a lot of fun. Taking out the dudes to build the tanks and using them to run wild over the horde is enjoyable, and Lordaeron has this working brilliantly. Anyway, back to the proper part of the game, and now it's Utgard Pinnacle. We hammered through the first boss, then smashed through the second boss, which was scripted and animated properly, just like in retail. However, as a group, we came unstuck on boss 3. We came unstuck because people don't know how to play the game. Get the fuck out the fire, you fucking retard! Because this happened a few times, I quit and I joined an Utgard Keep group instead. I found that the Forge Master taunt trick works, so it's possible to skip a whole room of mobs near the start. The next bosses are fine, we have no problems to speak of, as too is the final boss. But a bit of scripting has been missed out here, where the Dragon Rider on the ledge is supposed to jump down and attack you as you pass through the area. He does not. Okay, next we have Gundrak, with boss 1 being fine, bosses 2 and 3 both being scripted correctly. A rhino started to go through the floor on the bridge before we met the final boss, who acted correctly but was dealt swift justice. After this, I took myself off to the Oculus. We rolled in and took out all the mobs up to the first boss. The battle with Dracos was a bit messy on our part, but we beat him and got our dragons to ride. We moved up to the higher platforms and kicked the shit out of the mobs there before the boss, and then moving up to the upper ring to do the same. It should be noted that mounting and dismounting our drakes was no problem. I've been on servers where that bugs out a lot, but here it was perfect. We slapped down the next boss and made short work of the final boss. I did quite a few quests in Northrend with no real problems, like the Bell quest chain. This includes capturing a mob, then taking him back to base, then using a shock dildo to get secrets out of him. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about using a dildo. Let's ask Grand High Lord Chad Warden how he feels.
Sup bitches? Sup bitches? It's Chad Warden here. I ain't trying to play my games with no dildo.
Let's have some more PvP, shall we? So, this is Strand of the Ancients, and we start by being thrust onto a sailing ship. I should point out that the PvP queues at level 80 are still very quick. Anyway, you can use the tanks and you can use the turrets. It all seems to work rather well. Now, this is the point of the video that I should say what the raiding is like. So, here I am in Nax. I was unlucky really. The GMs set up ride-alongs, but the guilds that they set up with just fell apart. I couldn't make the times for the other raids that I was offered, and when I got a pug group together, we got a little way in before we hit server problems. So trust me, I tried, but I can only report back what others has told me, and that the raiding here is good. Right now, there are raid buffs in effect, but these have been nerfed down quite away from the reported 250%.
Risita, ¿qué? Ve por la paellera. Venga, que las 2 de la tarde ya están aquí. Miren, bañador. En las chanclas. Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme las chanclas y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea. Jesús. ¡Tú! ¡Había subido la marea y encontré una paella! Y la encontré porque estaba la paellera agarrada metida entre las piedras de Chipiona, del faro. Y cuando entro en el restaurante me ve el cocinero con una paellera y adentro la 20 paelleras.
Either way, I did speak to quite a lot of people who all said the raiding here was good. Plus, I did get to see some myself, and the little here that I did get to see my own eyes was all fine. So this brings us to the final part. Do I recommend Warmane's Lordaeron server? Yes! Despite a few glitches and bugs, most of this is a very solid server. Lordaeron was the only old Molten realm that I used to like, and this realm is a vast improvement over that, with far more quests working and things like Wintergrasp now available. There will always be those who dislike Warmane based on the past, but I see this as a fulfillment of Care's promise to create a really good realm like what Molten used to be known for before Hermes pissed all that goodwill that people had away. This is not just a good Wrath of the Lich King realm. This is the sort of quality that Gamer District provides, but without the silly custom content and raised XP rates. This is much more working content than something like True WoW, and a far greater low-level experience than Dalaran WoW, coupled with a far higher population. I don't think that the pay-to-win store really causes any problems, because the prices are so high. You'd have to shell out hundreds of pounds to get a set of standard Nax gear. So yeah, there are improvements that could be made. However, that's true of all private servers, but as of right now, I'd say that this is the best Wrath of the Lich King realm around. And before anyone says it, no, this video wasn't sponsored by Warmane. Now, excuse me, because I'm off to go play some more. Hello sailors, thank you for watching the video, hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to support me in my future videos, there's a Patreon link down there if you want to go that way, or by request I've now added a direct PayPal donate button, so if you want to do it that way, do it that way. There's other things you can do. You can follow me on social media like Facebook and Twitter, and why not have a look at these other videos I'm linking on the screen right now. Anyway, that's all, bye bye.